Hello and welcome to Makers.dev episode number 56. Chris, long time no see.
Yeah, we just recorded this after our last interview with Brian Castle, and you can listen to this a week after that one. So there you go.
Yes, for you, the listener, a week has passed. For us, merely moments. It's what is time? Cool. Let's jump right into it. Last week, I think we were talking about your Acorn Chat plan of action. You had two features you were going to work on for 20 minutes each. You had more explanation stuff on the homepage for 20 minutes each. You wanted to get the Slack app stuff done. And as a bonus, you wanted to do documentation. Do you have an update for us, Chris?
You already know the answer. I did nothing. I did nothing because I'll say I was still on vacation time. Yeah, my kids were still off on break, and so they don't go back till tomorrow. And so I did a lot of things that were not work. Yeah, and so that's my excuse. I'm sticking to it.
I feel that. That's totally fine. I am surprised, though. Usually we're very in sync with this sort of thing. Like on weeks when both of us are super productive, it's usually like we're both talking about how productive we were. And on weeks when both of us are like in vacation mode, we're like, yeah, I didn't do anything. And this is an exception. I'm very excited to talk to you about my Won't You Be My Boss update. We got some stuff going. You mentioned the Kaggle competition. Is this the crypto bro thing?
Nope.
Something else? Oh, what's this one?
I think I mentioned this one. This is where you have dog and cat pictures.
Yeah.
It's trying to predict how likely they are to get clicks on a pet adoption website.
Yeah.
There's an interesting lesson here, business lesson and just a general project lesson that because I was trying, so I knew what other people were doing because they were talking about it in the discussion forums, and I said, well, I'm not going to get any better if I just do what they're doing, so I have to do other things. So I was trying lots of different other things, and I was like trying to go fast because the competition ends in a couple weeks, and I was like just sort of throwing things at the wall. I'm like, I think it's about this way and whatever, and I wasn't really getting anywhere, and so I slowed way down. And I went back to what they were doing and started with, gradual experimenting, and then things started working. And so it was a lesson in that, like, sometimes if you slow down, then things start going better. And so I was trying to go fast and I was getting nowhere. And then I slowed down and actually things started working. So yeah, if you go slow to go fast was the lesson of this week.
That is an adage that I heard from the climbing community, but I think it came to the climbing community from the military. Which is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And in the context of climbing, this will be said if someone's freaking out, like, it's going to rain in an hour and you still have 3 pitches left and you're strapped to the side of this mountain. And if your gear gets wet, that's much worse. And so people start being like, all right, we got to hurry. The thing to say to someone in that situation is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. The fastest way to get to the top is to stay steadily at the pace that you're going, because the worst thing that can happen is you're trying to rush through something and then you forget to clip a carabiner and then calamity happens and now you're much further behind than you would have been before. And I'm also reminded of something else I don't have as clear of a moniker for this one, but this idea that if you don't know the next step forward, if you don't know what to do, if the path is uncertain, copying what other people have done until you get enough lay of the land to understand those decisions and develop your own opinions on it is the best strategy. It's if the only thing you do is just replicate what someone else has done, merely by going through the act of that, you'll notice things of oh, I'm curious why they did it this way. But it's worthwhile to go on that main track first and then develop your own taste and ideas of how you would do things differently. And it sounds like that's what you did. What were the results of redoing things slowly and smoothly?
Yeah, actually, exactly what you talked about just happened to me too. Because I had sort of the opposite problem that I had 30 different ideas about what to do, and so I thought, okay, I need to blitz through these and try them all and see kind of what works. And then when I slowed down and did what other people already knew to be good, I realized half of those didn't make any sense because of particular things. And so I didn't have to do half of those experiments because I could just once I actually understood what the baseline was, then I could just throw away half of them without even thinking about it. So
yeah.
So yeah, that's what I ended up with. So the competition's not over yet. It still has 2 weeks. I have essentially replicated what other people have done, which is good. And I still have some of the other things. I got pretty good with my flailing around, and so I can combine my pretty good with what other people have done and still get pretty good, I think. So yeah, so right now I'm sitting in the top third, but doing not very well. But I have locally some results, which I think will push me to hopefully the top 10% is what I'm shooting for. So we will
Sweet.
see.
That's I don't want to understate this. Like, this is amazing that you're able to solve such abstract, crazy problems at the forefront of what's happening. Like, I feel like I'm hearing some sort of like dejection in your voice of like, top 10%. It's not great, but like, that's amazing. This is like, globally, the number of people who have ever been able to solve problems like this is incredibly low. Like, you are playing in this arena of being able to recognize how cute dog pictures are with an artificial brain. That's amazing. I'm consistently impressed by the sorts of things you're able to do with math. It's really cool.
Yeah. As always, you are more excited about it than I am. Probably because, I mean, I recognize this in software too. Like, the stuff we do with software is basically magic. But when
Miracles.
when you're this close to it, it's like, oh, I got another bug and I got to do whatever. But if you just take a step back, it's like, you're doing things with computers that were not possible a few years ago. So yeah, I like that perspective, especially since I spent the last week debugging, why my learning rate is not affecting my loss like I want it to, and whatever. So yeah.
I grew up being obsessed with the Harry Potter franchise, and I remember every night just like staying up way too late reading these books, especially the night that it came out, and I would go to bed just like wishing with my heart of hearts, like, I wish I could be in this world where you can do things like send a message to someone anywhere in the world with an owl and it shows up there, and you can like record a sort of hologram of yourself actually talking and it gets there, or like develop a spell that can like change the structure of how things are working and moving, and like make a spell that makes a system of food can just magically appear. And like, that's the world we're living in. Like, everyone, we don't call them wands, but everyone has a smartphone that's capable of doing these spells, and like, most people don't know how to develop the spells, but we're some of those people, and it's amazing. Like, it's so interesting. Like, the attitude of wizards in the Harry Potter world really frustrated me, because I was like, how could you live in this world and not just be continually smitten with just how astounding it is that you're able to do these things? And I get it, because it's just normal if you're living in that world. Like, people aren't walking around every day like, look at this incredible thing in my pocket. I can take a photograph of you, and I can share it instantly with the entire world, because that person would be psychotic. So like, you're expected to look at everyday miracles as normal after a certain point. But like, man, I never want to lose that. I never want to forget how incredible it is, the stuff that we're able to do. It's really cool. I prefer this world to the Harry Potter world.
Yeah. I have a whole like essay-style blog post. I don't think I ever published it, about how basically computers are like the world of Harry Potter. And it's like, I remember doing the same thing, reading Harry Potter, and it's like, you mean you could change into animals? I would do all, because I would spend all my time learning how to change into animals. And like, what am I missing in the computer world? What should I be spending all my time doing? Which is basically magic. And I'm not spending all my time. Also, Louis C.K., who has sort of been canceled now, but he has a great interview with, I think, Conan or something, where he's like, people in a plane, when they learn about Wi-Fi in a plane, and then the Wi-Fi goes down, and they're like, there's Wi-Fi. It's like, you're in the sky, flying through the air, like a bird. You should be happy. I sort of feel that way with computers sometimes.
Yeah, I want to always appreciate when I have Wi-Fi in the sky. Yeah, it's amazing. It's really cool. And you're on the forefront of that. You're pushing us forward. You're doing stuff that no one has been able to do before.
Except for everyone above me on the leaderboard.
Except for everyone above you. Okay, calm down. There have been some leaderboards you've been at the top of, and you still have some time in this competition. It's very likely that you may be able to get to the top of this one. And true. If not, like, the things you learn in this will help apply it to other things. Cool. I would love to jump into my stuff, unless you have anything else.
I don't. I have one more thing, which is, in doing this is the first big vision competition that I've done. and I maxed out my computer and graphics card that I bought. And I started looking at prices for new computers and graphics cards.
Spend more money.
Oh man, there's a new graphics card out which has double the RAM that mine does, and I can get a computer with double the RAM that mine does. So I have 64 gigs of RAM in a server, and I didn't think that I would max it out, and I easily hit the max.
Amazing.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's the only update I have. I don't know.
Well, you know what talking to me about it will lead you to.
Yeah,
so.
I do.
Yeah, 64 gigs. I saw that option when I was ordering this MacBook, and I was like, what? 64 gigs? I don't need that much. Or maybe it was 30. No, I think I could have gotten this one with 64
You can go to 64,
gigs.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think I've ever maxed out the RAM. And part of that is that I'm not doing as much of the machine learning stuff. I'd like to be getting into more of that. Part of my justification for buying this laptop was like, with the GPU, think of how much better I could do machine learning stuff, but haven't actually gotten there yet. But yeah, I think you're probably going to get it. I'm not even going to push you a little bit. Cool. I have 3 things I'd like to talk about. I have a progress update on the Dropbox API upgrade that was due on the 1st. We're currently recording this on the 3rd. I have a Won't You Be My Boss update that I'm optimistic about, and I would like to introduce a new segment to the show called Dude, Where's My Laptop?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. So stay tuned, folks. We'll start with the Dropbox API upgrade. For a little backstory, this is a API upgrade that the way Dropbox handles OAuth changed slightly. Instead of having a long-lived access token, they had refresh tokens. They're switching to refresh tokens, and when you use the refresh token to get a new access token, that can expire. And once it expires, you need to go and get a new access token. Pretty straightforward upgrade. Just like the code for authenticating Dropbox needed to change a little bit, and I needed to store the token in a slightly different way. And then when I'm getting the token, I needed a little extra logic of like, okay, check first if it's expired, and if it's expired, then refresh it first. Problem is, I have a lot of ADHD tendencies, and so procrastinated this out the wazoo. It was originally due in September, and like 2 days before September, it was at the end of September that it was first due, and so I was in Europe, and I was working a little bit, and I was like 2 days before the deadline while I'm in Rome, and I was like, there's no way this is going to get done. So I messaged Dropbox and was like, hey, can I have an extension on this for another month, please? Otherwise my app's not going to work. And they were like, oh yeah, no problem. We'll give you an extension to the end of the year. And I was like, end of the year. I can just forget about this. That's so far in the future, it doesn't exist. So of course what happened was, December 15th-ish comes around, and I'm like, oh, didn't I have something due by the end of the year? It's this project. Let me go ahead and do that. So I'm really proud of how I structured it, and I tried a new experiment where I was live tweeting my progress after like every POM or two, and started tweeting progress bars of like the very first POM was spent in outlining the entire thing, and me just thinking meticulously, like every step I could have thought of at that moment, I wrote down in the spreadsheet verbosely of like, at this stage, check to make sure that the OAuth thing works, and that's its own separate check mark. And then after you've checked that, check the database to make sure that it got saved in the right way, and then check that the refresh part of it works. And came up with something like 20 to-do items of different things I needed to do, and then started working on them. And the very first one was really hard. The very first one was just like get your app running again, which I hadn't done on this laptop. And the last time I did it, period, was like 6 months ago. So that was kind of hard, and I had to like reinstall Postgres and Redis and everything else. But then a whole bunch of the other ones fell really easily, and I was like, ooh, I'm already at 40% just after 2 POMs. This is going to be a piece of cake, and I'm already 10 days ahead of schedule. And then it started getting tricky, because the core problem of like swap out the authentication tokens was pretty straightforward. And that problem, I was able to foresee the complexity in that really easily. However, actually pushing that to the servers turned into this can of worms of like, I was trying to push to servers that I hadn't pushed to in, no joke, a year. That they had just been stable, running the same version of the app and running the same version of Doku and Ubuntu, just sort of puttering along. And I'm really glad that I went through the crisis a couple weeks ago of one of the servers shutting down, because that had me like retouch all of the different parts of my app and remember what the architecture is. So I was able to explode this, what was before this one line thing of, deploy your app, that ballooned into like, twice the number of checklists that the entire project was. And turned into now, I went through and reinstalled Doku and refreshed some things, and now I'm at a point where all of my servers are running Ubuntu 18. All of them are running the most recent version of Doku. All of them have the most recent version of the app, and for me to deploy is now just a single checkbox. So that's going to make future development much easier. But it was really interesting to see that like the graph of the progress bar over time was like it starts at 0, and then it drastically shot up to like 60%, and then it dropped down to like 45% again, and then it was straight back up. And this is an important lesson that I'd like to remember for the future, that like there's no way for me to know what those unknown things are. Yes, in this instance it was deploying was a tricky step, but that wasn't something that I thought to plan for, and I think is a part of every project. So interesting lessons learned.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that on Twitter, and you were doing it in a thread, so I was like, wait, did I miss are these out of order or what? And I was like, oh no, this is classic software, which is as you go further, your progress drops lower. Yeah. So just we're relearning all sorts of lessons this week. But that's great. That's great. So you got it all done, right? So it's all launched and everything? Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, it feels really good.
Yeah. Now that you've done this, now that you can deploy with a thing with one command, is there still an advantage to going serverless? Are you still excited for that? Or are you going to coast on this for a while?
For sure. And my core motivation for that is this is a really rusty code base. Like if I was going to put in a new feature, like it would be hard.
Okay.
And I have not been working in the land of Rails for a while, so things that I'm thinking like, React and Firebase, this is trivially easy. Like I'd have to relearn, okay, how does Action Cable work? And additionally, now that I fixed the Cloudflare monitoring and splitting between different servers and things, I'm getting notifications that this app is crashing just all the time. And that's a DevOps problem that I have zero interest in solving, that I don't think it makes sense for me to spend my time solving. The easy thing to do would be, just deploy it on Heroku. I think that's what I would do if I was going to stick with the Rails code base. But my advantage right now is I'm really well-versed in this serverless Firebase architecture. I think that's a really good way to scale this thing. And everything that I've thrown at Firebase so far, I have this feeling that it's rock solid, that like if it goes down, there's nothing I can do, and I'm okay with that because it doesn't go down very often.
Right.
And like if I just architect it in the right way, I've removed the need to think about DevOps. So that just a whole category of problems is going to go away that I feel like is a category of problems that's been holding me back from marketing. Like we've talked about this before, but in the back of my head, anytime I do something with marketing, your server has crashed notifications go through my head of like, ooh, that's a problem that I still haven't solved, that like more people using this app would make that problem worse. So actually, do I really want more people to be using this? Maybe I'm going to go work on something completely unrelated instead. So yeah, that needs to happen. And very good question.
Cool. I think that brings us to Won't You Be My Boss, which is all about increasing the MRR, increasing the number of people on File Inbox. So
yes,
what did you get up to with that this week?
Yes. Won't you be my boss? You gave me you assigned me 4 palms of work. Those 4 palms were contact your virtual assistant and push it forward. The second one was identify which customers pay you the most for the least amount of effort. The third was make a list of the places where those people hang out. And the fourth was experiment with ads and purchase at least one. So let's go through those one by one. First, contact virtual assistant and push it forward. That took about 15 seconds, and I'm embarrassed that it took so little. But I sent an email and was like, hey, sorry, I dropped the ball on this. Could we start as soon as possible? I got a response to that email this morning. and spent another 20 seconds responding to that. So theoretically, the new start date is I think the 10th, like next week. And in the new form that I filled out, I was much clearer of like, okay, these are the jobs that I need you for, and I'm like, you're going to need to do customer support. That's going to be the full-time thing for a while, and then maybe some like customer outreach stuff. And I had a third one that I've forgotten now, but like the customer support is the main thing that I need them for. Having talked with Brian also, like, that's a very clear place where I can be spending money to make this business better. Like that's another category of thing that's holding me back. Of I kind of don't want this business to get bigger because that would mean more customer support emails, and I really don't like those. So if I just am throwing money at the problem instead, it would feel much better growing the business. So that was palm number one. Didn't take me a full palm and push it forward, and that's now happening.
That was, by the way, exactly the intended effect. That was
good.
I thought it would take about a minute. Sounded about right. Yeah.
Yeah, and makes sense from your perspective too. Like, if that is a meaningful place to push it forward. So good job. That was a good assignment to do. Second, identify which customers pay me the most for the least amount of effort. I had tried to do this in bits and pieces several times, so it was really easy to do this picking up the work that I'd already done. Like, I had this spreadsheet of all of my customers with their website that I had hired my sister to go through and like assign an industry to each one. So I actually had a lot of fun with this. I spent way more than a palm on it because I was doing like data analysis and stuff that I did not need to do of figuring out information that I already knew. But then I got a little bit of surprising information too. So my customer base is still very fragmented, and there's some big segments of things that don't quite fit together. Like there's kind of just like generally people involved in finance, and some of those are much more specific of like wealth management companies. That's something I could target, or like mortgage lenders. That's a thing I could target, or like accountants. That's a thing I could target. But I had two rise to the top, and then I picked the one that made the more sense. The two that rose to the top were small legal offices, because it feels like it'd be really easy to find them, and they're really good customers, and they have really small files, and sign printers, who we've talked about on the show before. And of those two, I chose sign printers because there's less minutia in like, they're not as worried about security, and they're not as worried about like, do I have this specific certification or something for the files. And places like ShareFile, I think, are doing a good job of targeting those things, and like they have all the certifications and for more that professional financial sector, which is not to say I don't want to also target them. Part of this, the reason I spent so much time on it is like, if I had assigned myself this task, I would have this is where I would have fell in the hole and just lost everything, because man, so many like part of this is I have to look at my customer database and be like, okay, who's paid me the most? And, I see someone at the top who's paid me like, $4,000. And I look at it and it's a customer who's churned. And now I feel this guilt of like, oh my God, maybe if I had replied to their emails, they wouldn't have churned. And MRR would have been so much higher. But thinking of framing this as like, okay, this is a thing I'm doing, playing this game with Chris, it was much easier to push forward and be like, okay, what's the core thing I'm trying to accomplish here? I just am trying to identify a segment. That's all I'm trying to do. Okay, that helped me get ahead of it. So result of palm number 2 was sign printers. And the next palm was make a list of places where they hung out. I also cheated on this because I had done this before with sign printers. So I looked up my old document and had a list right there of all the places they hang out. And I was like, all right, cool. We can kind of like mix this palm with the next palm of finding an ad. So I went to this forum that's like, it's like signprinters.net or something, really clunky, old, but like still active. People are still on this using stuff. And they have a button that says advertisements that has this little drop down, and you can buy an ad on their site. So in this 25-minute palm, I was like, okay, let me see if I can buy an ad. And it's like old school banner ad. They tell you the dimensions of the ad, and it's just a single image. And I was like, this is perfect. And it's $100 for a month. Amazing. And I tried to click the buy button, and it didn't work. And I was like, oh, that's a problem. Okay, well, I only have 17 minutes left. Let me try to get something done. So I hit the contact form on the website, and I was like, hey, I'm trying to buy an ad, and it's not working. And I was like, okay, well, I'm probably not going to get a response to that for another week. So in the meantime, let me turn off my ad blocker and see if I can figure out anything else about this page. Like, I wasn't seeing the banner ads on that site by being on it. And when I turned it off, I noticed that they had banner ads, but they were from Google. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe the reason this isn't working is that they switched the systems to just use Google ads, but they like haven't updated this page. So, okay, for me to check off this box of like, I bought an ad specifically for this niche, maybe the only thing I need to do is like have a new kind of Google ad specifically targeted towards the sign printers. So I went on Google AdWords, and there's like 12 minutes left, and I'm like, oh, down to the wire. I really want to finish this. And I was able to purchase a banner ad that I think will show up on that site. I don't think I did that well because at no point in that process did I specify it's for sign printers, and the language on the ad is sort of generic. I'm not sure how that works. And cherry on top, at the very end of the palm, I checked my email and had a response from the admin of the signprinters.net site, and he was like, "Which one would you like? I'll send you an invoice, and just email me the graphic."
Awesome.
So yes, that's an easy win for next time. That went really well, and I'm really happy. And I haven't looked up MRR. I don't know if it went up or down, but it's the first time we're doing this. I did this, an hour ago. So
Yeah.
I would love your feedback, and I would love future assignments for ways to grow my MRR.
That is great. It went exactly like I had hoped and thought it would, which is it took you less time than I thought. Than you thought. These are things you wanted to do anyway, but one of the things I heard you say was like you did it because you wanted to beat the time, and it wasn't great, but you just did it, and that's exactly what you have to do sometimes. Like you just do it, right?
Yeah.
Which I didn't do, so I'm talking to myself too. But yeah, so I think that went great, and yeah, I mean I wouldn't expect MRR to go up right away, but this is a kind of long game, so yeah.
Cool. Thank you for the feedback. Yes, I agree. It felt really good that like I had this other thing to focus on. It's in moments when I could feel myself sliding down this hole of like, you're a piece of garbage. You should have been doing this months ago. I was able to reframe and focus on like, okay, no, we're just playing this game of I just have to get this thing done and push forward. Cool. I would love 4 more assignments for things to do this next week.
That's great because I already have them in my head.
Yes. What you got?
All right. The first one is sort of a longer term play, and that is I would like you to write one article for your site. It could be short, all about how sign printers can use your file. Whatever problems you noticed by going to the sign printer forum. Pick one of them and say, this is how my software solves that problem, basically. And this is kind of the critical part, figure out, like you may have to do some research, but figure out how Google wants to index that. So I think it involves like maybe a sitemap, or you have to put this as a link in a footer. Like it doesn't have to be a prominent page on your website, but Google has to know how to get to it. So that's POM 1. And I expect, almost 0 results from that. But if you do it, then, maybe you have benefits in 6 months.
Cool.
Okay. Number 2 is you have sign printers. I would like you to reach out to. I'm struggling how to focus this POM because my next 2 are going to be talk to 2 sign printers. So
yes.
Like your next 2 POMs are talk to 2. So this one is develop the list and send out the email so that you can talk to 2. I expect the response rate to be less than 10%. So you probably have to send 20 emails maybe. So yeah, so POM 2 is send out maybe 20 emails, however many you need to get 2 responses. And then POMs 3 and 4 are talk to two sign printers with the deploy empathy framework in mind. That's the key. So ask them the same questions you ask me if you want to, and just see what they have to say.
You're too good. You're too good. Okay.
I'm talking to myself as much as you.
Of course. Okay. I would like clarification on POM number 2. Send 20 emails to sign printers. Are those existing customers or are those sign printers? However, I can get them.
That is a good question. My thought was new people that aren't customers. but you could also send it to one of your newer sign printer customers. So like some of those questions are like, how did you hear about me? And, why did you choose me over someone else? So, an easy way to do it would get at one of your newer but existing customers and one person who's not your customer. Yeah.
Cool. That sounds so doable, and having it written out here, especially playing this game of I'm just going to do whatever you tell me to do. So easy. Yeah, good. On Palm number 1, you wanted to include, like, how does Google want to index that? Do you include it in a sitemap? That's actually a problem I've solved. There's a sitemap.xml. I think it's at filenumbox.com/sitemap.xml that all of my articles are automatically included in. I think. I'll double check that. And then also I have like an article index page that stuff gets picked up on.
Cool.
So, cool.
And
that sounds great.
It kind of defeats the purpose to tell you before, but the whole purpose of that POM is not the article, although that's one of the outputs. It's to get you back into the frame of mind of, like, you can produce content and put it in a way that Google can find it, and then people will find it on Google. It's like, yeah, that's the purpose of that. Yep.
Yeah, that's good. And then that can be the article that I link to for my $100 ad.
Sure.
That I do on the sign printers. I'm gonna add that as a bonus tag for myself. Link to that page for banner ad. Cool. That sounds great. I have no further questions. I'm excited. Good tie-in with deploy empathy framework. That's
what we just talked about.
So that was on my mind. Very excited for that.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. That's the "Won't You Be My Boss" segment. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Dude, where's my laptop? Yes, that's the sound I'm gonna hear a couple of times in this story. So off the heels of me getting my car stolen, I thought I have this new MacBook. I have my old MacBook. I'd like to remove some clutter from my life. Sarah has expressed that she doesn't want this laptop, so I'm going to sell it on Facebook Marketplace, which is a thing I did last year with my last laptop. Went great, got a bunch of cash, did a handoff like in a gas station and felt super comfy, and then had like whatever $1,200 that I could use for buying things in cash for the next 2 years. So I cleaned up the laptop, I posted it on Facebook Marketplace, did all the software reset and stuff, and thought, okay, this is probably going to be a pretty long process. And I wasn't sure how much to sell it for, so I said, I'll just do like 20% off of what I bought it for, which ended up being a lot more than I thought. It was $1,704. And I wanted to do kind of the odd price because Chris Voss has never split the difference. He's like, this is a better bargaining tactic. And I was surprised the very next day to have someone reach out to me and be like, hey, is your laptop still for sale? And I said, yes, it is. When can you pick it up? And he said, well, I'm in Dallas. Could we do the handoff there? And I was like, actually, yes, that's fine with me. My girlfriend lives in around Dallas. So yeah, we could do that. Where would you like to meet? And he said, could we meet at this address? And I looked up the address and it was a Taco Bell. And I was like, well, I could meet at a Taco Bell. I'd rather meet at a gas station because I've done that before. I'm familiar with it. So I said, could we meet at the 7-Eleven right down the road? And he said, sure. And I was like, great. This sounds great. How would you like to pay? I prefer cash because I know there are like PayPal scams and stuff, and I'm not quite sure how those work. But I would also accept crypto, and if you wanted to do Venmo, I feel pretty comfortable with Venmo. And he said, I'd like to pay in cash. And I said, great. This is working out well. This is fantastic. And you're not negotiating a price. Like, fantastic. When would you like to meet? And he's like, how about this day? And I'm like, yes, perfect. So the day comes around, and it's like an hour before we're supposed to meet. And I say, hey, are we still good for the time? I need to know like a half an hour before so I can go out. And he said, I'm having some car trouble, so it's going to be a little bit of time. So I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. Car trouble is a thing that people who don't have all their stuff together have. And people maybe who don't have $1,700 in cash would have. But flipping laptops is a thing, so maybe that's something he's doing. That's fine. So I'm like, okay, no worries. Like, we can reschedule. So we end up bumping it out a little bit, and but still land on the time that we're both going to be there. So I get there, and I'm waiting for a few minutes, and he says, hey, my wife and kids are in the bathroom at the Taco Bell. Could we actually change locations to here? And I was like, you wanted to meet at the Taco Bell originally? No. I'm going to wait here. So I sent a message back that said, no worries. I have time. However much time your wife and kids need to pee, I can wait here. So a couple minutes later, I see someone waving at my door, and I'm like, clearly this must be the person. So I rolled down my window and I said, "Hi, are you Marquise?" And he said, "It's Marcus, actually. It was spelled Marquis." And I was like, "Great. Here's the laptop." And I take it out of the box and I open it and he's like, "Does it have a password?" And I said, "No, I factory reset it like we talked about. So there's no password." And he's like, "Great." And so I put it back in the box and he hands me the envelope and like has his other hand open to get the laptop. And I was like, "Oh, okay. This is where I need to be kind of a stickler." And I said, "Could you count it?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah." And he takes the money out and it's a wad of $100 bills. And I'm like, "All right, cool." And he starts counting it. And he's like, "I have 16. How much was it?" And I said, "That's 1704. And like, okay, I'm going to hold this hard line because he's not going to play this game with me. So he's like, "Oh, okay." So he picks up his phone and he says to the person on the phone, "Hey, do you have another dollar?" And I'm like, whoa, this baller, like, he did not misunderstand me that like that it was one more dollar. He's calling $100 bill a dollar? That's cool. Okay. And so he says like, "Okay, hold on, I need to go. Can you wait here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." So he goes, and I'm trying to figure out on the Tesla, like, I'd like to be paranoid and, have the camera on this. And I'm parked right in front of two cameras pointed at me from the 7-Eleven, so I'm feeling pretty comfy there. But I was like, this would be kind of cool if something happens, like I've got the Tesla cameras engaged. And that's kind of complicated because the car needs to be in drive. So I put the car in drive hoping that it would record, but I wasn't quite sure it was recording. So he comes back and he's got the envelope. And I'm like, okay, clearly he just went and got another dollar. Otherwise he wouldn't be doing this. So like, I don't need him to count it again, but I'm going to count it when we do it. So he hands me the cash, and he's got his other hand out for the laptop. And I think, okay, this feels safe. And we trade one for one, and then I'm going to count it, and we'll be good. So as I'm doing that exchange, I say, "Can you wait here a second so I can count it?" And I look down, and I open up the envelope, and I take one of the bills out, and it is obviously fake. It is printed on printer paper. And it takes me a second to register, just like, this feels weird. Like, this is not how money feels. Oh, no. And I look up, and he is walking away, like, behind the car. And then I'm like, oh, no. And then he rounds the corner and starts sprinting away. Yeah. So I'm like, I am certainly about to lose a $1,700 laptop. This sucks. But let's see what happens. So I gun it on the Tesla. Thank you, Elon Musk, for the 4.3 second 0 to 60 acceleration. And I whip around this corner and I catch up to him and I lay on the horn. And he starts running faster and he's running through bushes and like a bunch of people are looking at us. And then we get to this intersection and I'm right behind him, just laying on the horn. And then he cuts across a bunch of traffic. And I'm like, shoot, I can't follow him there. Like he's going towards a target. So I'm thinking like, okay, to get there, I'm on the right side of this intersection, so I'm going to need to turn right and then make a U-turn and then go back in. And like, I'm not going to, he's going to be hiding in the target or something like this is gone. Who do I see when turning right but a character that will become increasingly important in this story, Officer Matthew McLean, driving in his cruiser, coming back the other way, not, 20 seconds after this crime had taken place. So I roll down my window and I'm waving at him and I'm like, "Hey, that guy in the white sweater just tried to buy my laptop in fake money." And Officer McLean, this legend is like, "Hold on." So he like zooms ahead and it's a red light and I'm like, "Oh geez, okay." And but I like make a U-turn, so I'm now like right behind Officer McLean. And I'm like, what do I do now? I'm just like feeling jittery, like my hands are shaking. I take a picture of the police car in front of me and I send it in the group message that we had been communicating. Me and Marcus had been talking on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm like, maybe this will scare him, and like maybe he'll be surprised that I was able to get an officer this quickly. So we cross the intersection, we get to the Target parking lot, and Officer McLean is like making really slow laps of the parking lot, and I'm like, did he not understand what I said? Like, did I miscommunicate the information, or like, should I call 911? Like, is he trying to lose me? Is he like, is he just like bothered by this? So he makes a lap and makes another lap and makes another lap, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be just like my car. It's gonna be gone in maybe they'll be able to find it by the serial number or something, but maybe it'll be sold for pieces, and this kind of sucks. And we get to the end of a row, and he turns left, and a car cuts right in front of me. So I'm like, okay, Officer McLean is like still going. So I'm like, does he even care that I'm following him? Like, I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to be doing. Is he trying to lose me? So I turn left after the traffic clears, and I pull up to where the car is, and I'm surprised to see that the door is open. And I'm like, oh, he got out of his car, and I look a little bit to the left, and I see Officer McLean there with a gun in his hand, pointing at the ground about 10 feet in front of him. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe he was on a different assignment and, like, he's caught the guy for that case. And I look at where his gun is pointing, and it's the guy!
Yeah.
It's Marcus in his white sweater on the ground with his hands above his head saying, I didn't do nothing. And there's another woman in the parking lot who's filming this, and he's like, he said he didn't do nothing. What, police saw us on black people. What's going on? And so I yell across to Officer McLean, like, that's the guy. Like, you got him. That's him. So like a minute later, there's like 4 additional cop cars. Something interesting was, while Officer Matthew McLean, my hero, was pointing his gun at Marcus on the ground, he said, they said you had a gun, which I thought was very interesting, because, like, that's a good line to like get out of someone if they do have a gun. I didn't say anything about a gun, but I thought that was a clever thing. So I pull around and at Officer McLean's direction, and he gets a little bit more of my information. And he's like, you said he tried to pay you with fake bills? And I was, yeah, here it is. I hand him the envelope, and he pulls one out, and he's like, oh, yeah. So at first, I'm hearing Marcus like, I didn't do anything. I don't know nothing. And, with 4 police officers around you and your hands behind your back in handcuffs, like, he cracked real quick. And then that turned into, like, he knew where the laptop was, but he wasn't going to tell him. And then he told them where it was, and they sent someone out to go check it. I felt so cool. It felt like I was in a movie. Like, there were all these police. Like, one of them went into the Target to check the video cameras. Like, we're going to see if he got it, ditched it somewhere in the Target. And another one was like, where were you? The 7-Eleven? Let me go over there and see if there's anything over there. And what path did he take? It was so cool. And then they go to the place where he said it was, and they check, and they're like, we think he's playing games with us, and it's not there. And he keeps asking us about, if he tells us where it is, if that like incriminates him, and if he's going to get charges. So we would like to know from you, do you care more about getting your laptop back? And you'd like to kind of deal with him of like, that if he tells you where the laptop is, you're not going to press charges, or would you like to press charges? And I'm like, man, I honestly don't know. I've never been in this position before. Like, I sure would like to get that laptop back, but at the same time, it feels kind of selfish that I would do that and then let this guy go, and then he's able to do this again to someone else tomorrow. So I would take your advice. And Officer McLean was very good about like not. He didn't. I didn't feel like he was pushing any sort of agenda on me. Like I was able to just like sit there, and I was messaging Sarah the whole time, like grappling with this moral dilemma. So it's probably been like half an hour at this point since Marcus found out that's not his actual name. They had his driver's license. And they were like, "Oh, this is just a fake name." Yeah. But they're like, "Okay, he wants to go show us where the laptop is." So I'm like, "Okay, is he going to try to escape? Like that'd be real dumb." With like 3 officers with you, and Officer McLean comes to my car a couple minutes later and is like, "They found it. It was under a dumpster." Close to where he said it was, actually, and we just have to like get a pole to fish it out. And a couple minutes after that, he handed me my laptop back, and I was just like, this is amazing, and police are so cool. This is like, I feel like I was in a movie. This is incredible. And he asks me, would you like to press charges? And I said, absolutely. And just like seeing that swift deliverance of justice was incredible. So the next day I'm telling people about this, and they're like, that's amazing. And just the more I think about it, the more like how, like from the moment the crime happened to the moment he was in handcuffs, like was maybe 2 minutes. It was incredible. So I'm the next day just feeling like, how can I express my thankfulness? Like this is such a different story than the car that got stolen, where I felt like I had to dig through this bureaucratic nonsense. Like I had a problem, and then there was a police officer right there, and then I asked him to help me, and then he did, and he caught the guy, and he got my laptop back. So I called up, I tracked down like the department he works for, and I called him up and was like, hey, this thing happened, and it was awesome. I'd love to like buy lunch if that's a thing that's okay to do. And the guy who answered the phone at first was like, "Oh, you'll need to talk to a supervisor about that. Call back in an hour." So I said, "Okay." So I call back in an hour, and I'm like, "Hey, I need to talk to a supervisor about a case." And they're like, "Okay, hold on." So they transfer me, and this really brusque guy answers the phone, and he's like, "What's the problem?" And I'm like, well, I had a case yesterday for a stolen laptop, and it was awesome. And he was able to get my laptop back. And the supervisor just like immediately softens, and he's like, "That's so nice to, we don't get a lot of positive feedback. What was the case number?" And I told him the case number, and he was like, Officer McLean. Yeah, he's a rock star. He just today recovered a stolen vehicle. Yeah, thank you so much. I'll let him know. And I was like, actually, if it's appropriate, I don't know bribery cops things. I'd like to, like, I don't want to do something that's not okay. Could I like buy you guys food? Could I send catering or something? And he was like, "Oh yeah, we'd love that. Bring over whatever." And I was like, "Okay, great." Like I was thinking Chipotle is that something people like? And he said, "Oh yeah, we're a bunch of hogs. We'll eat anything." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I ordered Chipotle for Matthew McLean's entire department. It was like a 15 person, and the next day he texted me from his personal cell number, and he was like, "Hey, thank you so much for the Chipotle." And I said, "Thank you." I was amazed to see that was incredible police work. Thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do. You've become a legend in my family. And he replied, "LOL, I'm glad I could help." So that's my segment of Dude, Where's My Laptop? The answer is it's safely back in my hands. And Sarah decided she actually wants it now.
Well, while I would love for this to be a recurring segment, you need to stop doing risky things, man.
Right? What if I'm a magnet for crime? Why is this happening to me? I don't know what I'm doing.
We have had not like that at all, but similar experiences with trying to sell anything online. I have stopped trying to sell anything online. We do buy nothing groups on Facebook, and those are much better because you're like, I have this thing, you can have it for free as long as you pick it up, and people actually pick it up, which is a big deal actually with free things. A lot of times people won't pick it up when they say they do, but they actually get kicked out of the group if they don't pick it up. So that is all we do now online is like, if we have something to give away for free, we give it away for free. I've stopped trying to sell things online because of the rampant scams.
I like that.
Man,
you wouldn't do
crazy.
that with a laptop though. Like it's
oh no
almost
this
brand
is
new laptop.
this is like old broken kids toys and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Trying to sell a laptop is harder. If you do it online, maybe you have some more like. But even then, like, there's eBay scams, right? Like you talked about. So I don't know how to sell a laptop. Just stop doing risky stuff.
It didn't feel that risky. I done it a year ago, and it went great. And I had a bunch of cash, and if it was counterfeit money, it was good enough counterfeit money that I was able to pay other people with it. But I've just been thinking through like what would I want to be doing differently, and my sisters have had different advice of like, you gotta take the cash first. But I'd like to do it in a way where like I would also feel comfortable being the buyer. Like if I'm going to someone's car and they want me to hand them the cash first before they give me the laptop, I'm like, okay, well, this guy's clearly going to take my cash and run. I don't know what that interaction is supposed to look like.
Yeah, there is. I have seen. So you did it at 7-Eleven, which is good. They have cameras, but at both police stations and post offices, I have seen cameras with a like internet, like a specific sign that's like, this place is for buying and selling things on the internet.
Yeah.
It is recorded 24/7, and there's government officials, 10 steps that way.
Yeah.
So you could try to find some of those in your area, maybe.
I like that because I think if I had introduced, I think for someone who's honest, saying I'd like to do this transaction in the parking lot of a police station is reassuring.
Right.
And I think for someone trying to pay with 17 counterfeit bills, which is a misdemeanor, they would get scared off. So I think that's exactly what I would want to do. Yeah. Okay. I'll try that next time.
Also, I would expect someone to haggle on $1,700, and so the fact that he didn't haggle at all was probably tip off.
Yeah. Which I was thinking was like, ooh, lucky day for me. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, haggling is like a green flag and not inconvenient. Yeah. I'd like to get good at this because like one of the reasons I felt really comfortable buying this new laptop is having just had the experience of selling my old laptop and having it go so smoothly. If I can figure this problem out, I'd like to know that I have an easy way to get rid of old and still very valuable electronics so I can stay on the cutting edge of things. Like, when the Cybertruck comes out, I'd like to feel comfortable selling that in a private transaction in a way that both of us feel comfortable, and not that someone's trying to hand me a briefcase full of fake money. Yeah.
The other thing people do frequently for Facebook things is like he may have shown. What I thought you were going to say is he would have shown up with like $900, and he was like, "I got $900. Take it or leave it." Because you drove all the way out there, and whatever. People do that all the time, and so even if you get good at it, probably half your conversations are going to go about that way. Like they'll show up with about half the money and be like, I got it. Take it or leave it.
Gross. Yeah, I've done that trick with other people.
Gross.
I know. I bought a moped, and it wasn't half the money. It was like I asked if he would take $200 off, and he was like, "Fine." Yeah, that makes sense. And like realistically, if he had tried to haggle for $100 off, I don't know. With him in particular, I was feeling like because he didn't try to haggle online, I'm gonna hold this price pretty firm. But like, I don't need to accept $1,700 for it. I'd be happy with like $1,200.
Which is why the trick works.
Yeah. All right. That's my story. Hopefully, I will not have another update for you on how someone has committed a crime against me.
Palm number 5 is before you sell anything, talk to me first.
You sound like my girlfriend. Chris, that's all I got.
That's all I got too.
Then I'll see you next week. Goodbye.